Okay, I welcome you in today's round. I would like to remind you a little bit the motion before we get started. This House regrets Brexit, but on side proposition we have Fermi-Monticelli from Brindisi, and on side opposition we have FLACCO from Castellaneta, right? So I kindly welcome the first speaker from proposition side, Giovanni Barbaro, to deliver their speech for their house. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So, separating themselves from the European Union and the Brussels bureaucracy is not any kind of panacea for their problems. In fact, it could be very well make them worse. Noam Chomsky. Good morning to everyone. I am Barbaro Giovanni, the first speaker of the Pro team, and this House regrets Brexit because it is the true culprit of present and future damage for both Europe and the UK. But what is Brexit? Well, of course, if I asked someone, he will tell me that Brexit is a word that means UK leaving the European Union. But is this the real meaning of the word? We do not think so. Brexit is not only that, but also a precise political project. But let's not rush into things. We will explore this matter using as much time as is needed. So the first speaker, me, will talk about the aforementioned political project, focusing on its criticalities. But he will also tell you the truth about the main problems of the project, how it was founded on lies, and how it was fed by a wave of populism based on xenophobia. Last but not least, the third speaker will tell you about the catastrophic effect that Brexit is guaranteed to have on almost everyone, and will rebut the arguments of the other team. So, to recap, the first speaker talks about the theoretical point of view, the second about the roots of this project and its growth, the third about the practical point of view, and finishes with the rebuttal. Now, let us begin. My speech will be divided into two parts. In the first, I will talk about the political project, as we've already mentioned, and in the second, I will analyze the sovereignty problem. So, in 2016, English people voted for Brexit, and so, starting from the 1st of January 2021, they officially exit Europe. And with they exit, we mean England, which is different from the United Kingdom, but also Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. Cool, right? No, absolutely not cool at all. I think that almost everyone that has thought or that thinks about Brexit has asked this to themselves at least once. I wonder why the UK has promoted Brexit. It's a good question, isn't it? We don't want to play hide and seek. It's time to uncover the truth. You can really understand Brexit only if you understand that it is not a rational movement or idea, but an ideology that can be best described with the words British nationalism. But before we start, it's important to know that an ideology is something that encapsulates the multitude of the reality into a model. Or, if you want another point of view, from the famous philosopher Slavoj Zizek, an ideology is a social fantasy. Well, in this case, is a burlesque social fantasy because it is the most comic, surrealistic, and irrational novel that I have ever read. It is a deep-rooted set with free of beliefs, of course, with three main trees: the difference between England and Europe, the future of the English-speaking countries across the world, and the sovereignty. So, for the first point, it may be true that in some aspects Britons are different from Europeans. They have different currency, different religions, and even different laws. But do we really want to put the European project on the sacrificial altar of these minor things? Immanuel Kant, a famous philosopher, once said that a kind of confederation of states like Europe would be the only way to gain prosperity and to maintain peace. And to prove that, in 2011, Europe was awarded with the Nobel Peace Prize. This is the other political project that Britons left with Brexit. One that proved to be useful for peace. One that proved to be effective against economic crisis. One that the whole European community, if not the world itself, needed. Secondly, this new interest in the former colonies of the British Empire is not so new. Mostly because the United Kingdom, never gave up on its imperialistic idea, except that we are not anymore in the 19th century, so it's pretty anachronistic. So this kind of new empire disguised as an economic relationship is pretty useless. So the last point, sovereignty, needs its own even bigger speech. This other speech will be divided into three parts for your sake. First of all, we will demonstrate how the Johnson sovereignty is ineffective. Secondly, we will underline the fact that, contrary to popular belief, a lack of sovereignty was not such a big threat to UK, after all. Finally, yet importantly, we will focus on the fact that there are some values which are far, far more important than simple sovereignty. We can hear in the distance, far, far away, Boris Johnson saying, we have taken back control, we've taken back control. But control of what, exactly? Johnson's sovereignty is based on regaining control of borders, the market and the laws. But if you can't control the principal market where you commerce, remember that according to the UK's parliament in 2019, the UK exported in the EU the 43% of all British exports. The idea of this sovereignty is pretty useless. The UK lost its possibility to control commercial laws in the EU. So their actions weakened their positions. Very clever. That was my first point. Now, for the second. Of course, it's important to say that the UK never agreed to the Schengen Pact, to the Economic and Monetary Union, to the EU Charter of Fundamental Rights. So exactly where the UK was so chained that it's been needed to take back control. Now, for my last point, even if you admit that maybe, and I repeat, maybe somehow sovereignty was limited by the European Union, for example, I don't know, in the administration of fishing waters, I want to anticipate the other theme, you still couldn't say that this sovereignty is more important than the aforementioned value of economic wealth and peace. So, ladies and gentlemen, yes?
Are you aware of the fact that the only course of action and the only hypothetical procedure to improve its own sovereignty for UK is to get apart from the Union?
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
Sure. Are you aware of the fact that the only course of action and the only procedure to improve its own sovereignty for UK is to get apart from the EU?
So this would be a thing that Boris Johnson will say. Well, this depends on the definition of sovereignty. We think that sovereignty, first of all, as I've already said, is a kind of is the possibility to make treaties and so on. And if you exit Europe, you lost the possibility in parliament, in commissions, to rule and to control this kind of law. Of course, you can make treaties and so on, but it's not the same thing. And secondly, as I have already said, economic wealth and peace is maintained by Europe, and so exiting in, and so going out is a kind of damage. But my time is running out. What I have told you today, like we said again and again, louder and louder, the theoretical project behind Brexit is disastrous. For all the reasons and the arguments that we have mentioned, and because of all the reasons and arguments that we are about to mention, we say it again, and we firmly believe that Brexit is dangerous and, of course, disastrous. Thanks.
Thank you, Giovanni, for your brilliant speech. Now I welcome Zaira to deliver their first speech from opposition side. When you're ready, the stage is yours.
Hi everyone, I'm Zaira, first speaker of the team against the topic "This House regrets Brexit." Today my house will show you how functional Brexit has been, and thought of regrets is far from us. First of all, my house disagrees with the definition given by the other house. In fact, our house believes that by Brexit is meant the withdrawal of UK from European Union. No conspiracy theory under our definition, just facts. By regret, is meant a feeling of sadness about something said or wrong, or about a mistake you have made, and wish it could have been better. Now, to make my speech and that of my companions as clear as possible, we have interpreted the topic from the point of view of the UK, as the feeling of regrets can only occur from those who wanted Brexit, and therefore the UK. So I would like to start refuting what was not appropriate of the other house. In fact, the first speaker presented various theories about clouds without giving us a valid reason why they regret Brexit. Indeed, they dubbed it the diversity of the phenomenon itself. It was a bit difficult to understand what is concrete in your speech, if not tense and words that fly in disorder. And then I would like to present my line of argument, and giving the first argument, the second and the third will be presented by the second speaker, Francesco Placido. My first point is the economy. In fact, if the UK leaves the European Union, it will no longer be obliged to pay the membership fee. Without paying this huge amount of contribute to UK's economy has highly increased. UK has left the European Union, therefore it can no longer have European aid. However, it still has connection with the Commonwealth states, which have totally replaced the benefits the UK previously had with the European Union. Third in dynamics would be years. No, thank you. Would be easier to achieve after Brexit, especially the ones regarding fishing in British seas. The second point is selected immigration. With the help of Brexit, UK can now choose how many people welcome, and especially what kind of people. By choosing to let incompetent workers, UK's workforce will strongly increase. There will also be many more jobs for local population, who currently suffers for employment. After the Brexit, terrorism and weapons trading have fallen devastatingly, thanks to the fact that now UK can thoroughly check the people it's welcoming. The third and the last point is about sovereignty. The UK, even in history, has always cared for its autonomy and sovereignty, which has been undermined by the membership with the European Union until the completion of Brexit. I don't people like British are pro-Brexit because
if I may, sorry. Okay, thanks. So, how the European Union limited the British sovereignty? I think that I have demonstrated the contrary.
Yeah, of course. The third point, as I said before, will be presented by Francesco Placido. So the answer is gonna be from Francesco Placido. So my third point is the sovereignty, and the UK, even history, has always cared from its autonomy and sovereignty, which has been undermined by the membership with the European Union until the completion of Brexit. Island people like British are pro-Brexiters because they do believe they reaffirm the concept that their own state can live independently of Europe. Now, I will continue with the first point, the economy. So, Brexiters argue that leaving the European Union will result in an immediate cost saving, as the country will no longer contribute to the European Union budget. In 2016, Britain paid £13.1 billion, and it only received £4.5 billion worth of spending. So the UK's net contribution was £8.5 billion. What was harder to determine was whether the financial advantages of the European Union membership, such as free trade and inward investment, outweighed the upfront costs. In 2018, the UK government paid 13 billion to the European Union budget. The European Union spending on the UK was forecast to be 4 million, so the UK's net contribution was estimated at nearly 9 billion. So every year the UK lost £9 billion. We can be pretty sure about how much cash we put in, but it's far harder to be sure about how much, if anything, come back in economic benefits. In 2017, the UK's public sector receipts are estimated to be £4.3 billion. So overall, we paid £8.9 billion more than we got back. All this money will be invested for citizens to lower taxes and to make life better. UK has left the European Union, therefore it can no longer have European aid. However, it's a connection with Commonwealth states, which can totally replace the benefits the UK previously had with the European Union. European Union law has applied in the UK until the end of December 2020. Commonwealth trade has been unaffected during this transition period. while the UK and the European Union negotiate their future trading relationship. After Brexit, there was a trade growth between Commonwealth countries, and the UK government has said that increasing economic, political, and other ties with Commonwealth member countries is an important priority. Our member countries are all committed to deepening trade integration in the Commonwealth as part of the Commonwealth Prosperity Agenda. The Commonwealth Secretariat will monitor the negotiation between the UK and the European Union to work out the implications for Commonwealth member countries. Our top priority is make sure that whatever happens between UK and the European Union trade is uninterrupted for our most vulnerable member countries. The Commonwealth has been working with these countries to diversify their supply chains. The Commonwealth Secretariat and the European Commission have a long history of working together. We have been working jointly across Africa, the Caribbean, and the Pacific for over 10 years to support countries to negotiate trade agreements. Brexit will not affect this cooperation. After Brexit, Commonwealth members, Malta and Cyprus, will still be in the European Union. Cyprus is the current chair of the Commonwealth Governing Board. Malta sits on the Commonwealth Troika, having hosted the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in 2015. Malta is also the home of our Commonwealth Multi-State Centre of Excellence and the Commonwealth Trade Finance Facility. Now, how can we regret Brexit if it provides an income that is necessary to improve the lives of all Brits? I leave the answer to yourself. Thank you for the attention.
Thank you, Zaira, for your lovely speech. Now I kindly ask to Maria Sole to deliver their second speech from the proposition side. Maria Sole, when you're ready, you can start, okay? Tell me when you're done so that we can get started.
I'm ready.
So you can go.
Good evening, everyone. I am Maria Solendirli, the second speaker of the pro team. Above all, I'll start with the computation of the other teams. So you say that was an economical problem because you say that a lot of millions of pounds was put for the Europe, but do you think that every state should done amount of money to the European Union? Do you think that it was only England? And England was out from a lot of agreement, like the Schengen, also the unifying money, and also GOTS and other things. So Brexit, UK was out from a lot of agreements. And you say also that the Commonwealth was quite happy for the decision of the UK, but I don't think so, because with the poll that was during the state of Commonwealth, they say that she wouldn't remain in the UK. And with this occasion of the Brexit, a lot of people that live in the Commonwealth decide to speculate and to buy houses and enterprise in England, because after the Brexit, the worth on the enterprise and the house go down. And you say also that was a problem of immigrants, but are you sure that in England we have so many immigrants? So I think it would be a xenophobia feeling, because the xenophobia feeling feeds the Brits. They want to stop the number of immigrants and take back the power and the control. But immigration is decided by the own country, not from Europe, because UK have not signed the Schengen Deal, which allowed the free movement of European workers and goods. And also, the Officer for Nation States said that an international migrant is a person who moves to a country other than that of his or her usual residence for a period of at least a year. And in 2015, 713 foreign national migrants came to UK from both sides and outside the EU, and only an additional 33,000 arrived in the UK in 2016, but aren't significantly numbered by ONS. So, and there are fewer foreign nationals living in the UK than there are people born in other country, and the UK is concentrated in other countries. And the immigrants offer to English people some service. For example, after the 31st December of 2020, I refused. Thousands of doctors should come back to their original country and in the hospital were without sufficient staff. And the number of immigrants are not more than the number of migrants of the other countries such as Germany, French or Italy. And you say also that was what was something decided by the nation. We are sure that the Brexit was decided by the nation because the third reason is the referendum in Scotland and Northern Ireland because the majority of people vote to remain. In Scotland, the 68% of Scottish, 68% vote to stay in Europe. And in 2012, the Scotland have made a referendum for their independence from England, but decided to stay because the Scottish citizens will have two nationalities, English and European. Boris Johnson said that Brexit would be the right chance to unify the nation, but it doesn't seem like that. And Scotland will leave UK for Europe, but after this referendum, they wait the 24 after I finished the 2014 years from this one, and Scottish people have decided to stay in UK only because they were also European, and now that they aren't anymore. So they want again belong to Europe. And also in Ireland, the 50.8% of population have voted to remain. Yes, it's a democratic choice, but it doesn't mean that every Brit decided to vote for the Brexit. And we should see also all the lies behind the referendum. For example, Boris Johnson said, once we have settled our accounts, we will take back control of quite 350 millions per week. And the claim by the Leave campaign that UK would take back control of 350 millions a week was derived, but UK Statistics Authority has a clear measures of official statistics. And we have also other example. For example, there was the other lies about the Turkey is joining the EU. From the, yes.
Are you aware of the fact that I say something about immigration?
Yes, you say that there was a selective migrants, but the selective migrants when the UK was in the Europe, they have a lots of countries have signed some agreement from which the UK was out. So which are thinking about the importance of these migrants. They have a service to their country. When there was the 1st December of 2020, a lot of doctors should come back to their nation. And in the hospital during the pandemic, there was sufficient staff. So, and Turkey has been an official, and Turkey hasn't never been an official EU candidate stand since 1999, and talks have long stalled, and there is not prospect of the country joining the bloc anytime soon. And also, the German Chancellor Angela Merkel has also since said Turkey will never become a EU member, effectively blocking any succession. And we should also thinking about another lies. That's was 2/3 of British jobs in manufacturing are depend on demand from Europe, from Alan Johnson, one from the politician. This claim by Remain campaign was based on outdated data by the Center on Economics and Business Research. And the consultancy has since revised the figure. It say the figure is more likely to be around 60%. So we are really sure that the date they've used are represent represent what the Brits wanted, because we've seen that all these lies that were built around the referendum was absolutely fake. And after that, I finished.
Thank you, Maria Sole, for your very passionate speech. I kindly... Chiara, the stage is yours.
Okay. Can I start?
Io devo iniziare
Oh, scusatemi, ho sbagliato. Quindi non sei tu, Chiara, il terzo speaker?
Sì, sono io,
Cioè,
sono io.
non sei il secondo, eh?
Esatto.
Ok, a posto, quindi ti disattiva il microfono. Ok, great. Please, Chiara, unmute yourself because your microphone is very loud, okay? So, Francesco, it's about you.
Posso?
Yes, you can.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Francesco Placido, the second speaker of the Con House. I would like to refute what has been said by the first speaker of the Pro House. He said that about the sovereignty, but from the beginning of the definition from the definition of the term itself, I would confute him. In fact, his definition of sovereignty has made failure inevitable, as real sovereignty is about protecting a country's interests, not only its borders and laws, but its economic interests that would be deeply improved by not paying the membership fee. Well, the first speaker's reasoning was not only wrong at the antipodes, according to his definitions, but it's only an abstract speech which doesn't analyze the real risk, as the sovereignty would cause a lot of economic issues by paying the membership fee. Now I want to refute what has been said by the second speaker. She said that our model about a selected immigration was wrong, but in this way, Britain would handle its immigration and arrival of foreign people better. So, what kind of problem could occur if Britain had only this advantage? Mi sentite? Sentite? Ah, ok. No, scusate. As we already know, after years of wrangling, Britain has finally separated from the European Union on January 1st, 2021. The second speaker said that our model was wrong, but in this way, Britain would handle its immigration better. In fact, Britain won't accept every immigrant that would arrive in the European Union, but Britain would select who have to enter, who not. Well, I will continue with my argumentation. So, as selected immigration, as the one-year transition period has come to an end, so have all the European Union rules that have previously applied in the UK. Although a last-minute trade agreement was struck between London and Brussels on December 24, the details of this deal and how it will affect migrants wishing to settle in the UK are not yet fully known. Of course, UK's main goal is not to completely close its borders, but rather than to choose how many people will come and especially what kinds of people. As far as we know, the Dublin Third regulations, which establish which European nation is responsible for examining asylum requests, will no longer be applied in UK. Under the Dublin Accord, member states can request another European Union country to take charge of a person's asylum application. In this way, UK won't submit anymore to European Union's arbitrary decision of transferring an asylum-seeking person in the countries they prefer. After Brexit, the Dublin Third needs to be replaced with a new second accord between the UK and the European Union, but such an agreement has yet to be drawn up. However, the British government has already found a solution in order to cover up for the time left. In fact, it said that if it doesn't manage to reach a new agreement with the European Union, it will negotiate bilateral agreements with individual countries. For non-European migrants, Brexit will have few direct implications, told Alexander Betts, a professor of forced migration and international affairs at the University of Oxford. Since the UK, even before Brexit, has always to maintain its own borders, it has been freer than other any European nations to decide on what European Union migration policies to adhere or not. This will not change after January the 1st. The ones who will be most affected by Brexit will be the European migrants, especially those who want to work in the UK. But of course, the country has the right to choose who can let in or not. Therefore, low-skilled European migrants can expect a harder rather than granted entry. So we want to say that a selected migration is preferred, must be prepared to total immigration. And so the European Union can choose, the Brexit, the Britain can choose which kind of people she can let enter or not. Moreover, thanks to Brexit, even the security level, I refuse, even the security level has highly increased. Even if they had European Union's help, British people could afford to defend themselves from terrorists or illegal migrations. In fact, I'll bring you an unequivocal evidence. For migrants who are trying to make their way to Britain illegally from Calais, there are no great changes to expect. However, in the approach to January the 1st, security has been stepped up in the Calais region in France, and surveillance has been increased for UK-bound traffic. Moreover, since UK won't be able to have access to the Schengen information system anymore, as you mentioned, in preparation, the country is imposing stronger border controls, including 20 million of additional funding for the Home Office. This aims to help improve the intelligence picture about threats. I accept.
Okay, so are you sure that just reinforcing borders is enough to counteract what is lost thanks to the Schengen information system?
Can you repeat, please? I didn't understand.
Okay, so I said, are you sure that just reinforcing the borders is enough to counteract what you lost after the Schengen security system?
We didn't want to reinforce totally the border because, as we said, the selected immigration is one of the most efficient solutions. So we want to say that we have to reinforce the border where the immigration is not legal. So where the immigration is illegal, as I said before, we have to reinforce the borders, the boundaries. But where it's illegal, as I said, as I showed you with the Calais evidence, it would be very useless to reinforce the boundaries. Thanks for your POI. Now, as I said before, this aims to help improve the intelligence picture about threats moving in and out of the UK, strengthening the multi-agency response to people and goods entering the UK, and support investments in new capabilities for border force and counter-terrorism. In addition to this, UK can always rely on its relationship with the NATO association, which can easily defend the country from any eventual terrorist attack. And switching on the other topics, as I said before, the sovereignty, my team would like to talk about. So we must say that for the Brexiters, sovereignty was seen as a simple win. Even the most ardent Remainers had to admit that European Union membership involved giving up some control over domestic affairs. But pro-Brexit Labour MP Kate Hoey said that at the time that the European Union was an attempt to replace the democratic power of the people with a permanent administration in interest, it will bring only disadvantages. In fact, European Union institutions drained power from the UK Parliament. For Leavers, leaving the European Union would allow Britain to reestablish itself as a truly independent nation with connections to the rest of the world. But For Remainers, it would result in country giving up its influence in the world, turning back the clock and withdrawing from the global power networks of the 21st century. And this does not mean that UK wants to leave the European Union in order to take control over the globe, as you said when you quoted Commonwealth, as a new arising global power, because the British government would still be bound by the membership of the NATO, the US, and the WTO of the various agreements. Almost 89% of the Brexiters gave a reason of the sovereignty. So, after this, I want to say that our house sustained that. Firstly, we have to sustain sustainable and legal type of migration, and the sovereignty is one of the most important points, but not to take over the control of the globe, as you said. Thanks. My speech has concluded.
Okay, thank you, Francesco. I beg you to respect the timing, please, because Francesco, you spoke 9 minutes and a half, and try to.
Non me ne sono accorto.
Okay, it doesn't matter. But the problem is that if you speak more than 8 minutes, whatever comes after the 8 minutes, I don't write anything down. Okay. So everything that you said after the 8th minute.
I didn't hear the bell, so I keep going. I kept going.
Okay, but I wrote in the chat that you run out of time and the 8 minutes have passed by. So probably you were not in the chat, you were somewhere else. That's why you didn't notice the message, okay?
No, I didn't. I was in...
Okay, don't worry. As a matter of fact, I didn't interrupt you because I wanted you to finish your speech. But I want to be extremely clear that whatever comes after the 8 minutes, it's not going to be written down by me, okay? I'm not writing anything that you say after the 8 minutes have passed, okay? Is it clear to everybody? Great.
Yes.
So, Francesco, now I beg you to deliver your speech, possibly remaining into the 8 times, yeah? It's 8 minutes, okay? Go.
Okay. So, I'm Francesco Renegris, the third speaker of the pro team. Now, I have to say, it's my job to the rebuttal, and I have to say that I am deeply concerned because the contra team did not consider the right definition of regret. They, for some reason, thought that regret just means the country that committed the act. But the issue is that while some definition of the term might mean the person that committed the act can only regret the act that they committed, even other countries can regret the consequences that have been pushed directly on them. And so the main problem that we have to consider in the contra team's evaluation is that they have not considered major stakeholders. So many different stakeholders, even inside England itself, were affected negatively by Brexit, and they did not consider these stakeholders. This is one of the main points that has been basically that is wrong with their evaluation. Now, my job here is to prove that Brexit was bad for the UK, was bad for the EU, and it was bad for everyone. And I will start doing this by saying that even inside England itself, so they said that basically from the economic standpoint, it would have been the best thing because they don't have to pay the submission fee. And while this may seem correct at first, in reality, it's not, because there are some things that have not been taken into consideration by the contra team, such as the fact that, for example, when it comes in the fishing industry, there has been a lot of red tape, so a lot of useless bureaucracy because of Brexit, that has basically resulted in a massive disruption in the sector. That basically
Francesco,
meant
scusa un attimo, interrompiti un attimo.
Ti metti in pausa, Fra.
Metti in pausa.
Ho messo in pausa.
Perché Vito ha perso la connessione l'altro.
Sì, perché è uscito il giudice, è uscito effettivamente, quindi insomma.
Ha problemi, si deve riconnettere e quindi poi altrimenti non sarebbe equa la valutazione solo con un giudice.
Non ci avevo fatto qualcosa? Che paura, ok.
Mi dispiace averti fatto perdere il filo, però. Ora arriva, speriamo presto. Anche perché lui ha il tempo, porta il tempo.
Quindi, nel mentre che aspettiamo...
Sono gli imprevisti del web, ragazzi.
Sì. Beh, che cosa avete mangiato oggi, ragazzi?
Beh, dai.
Allora, io una carbonara, che poi, tra
Ok.
parentesi, non ho manco finito di mangiare, perché mia madre non sapeva, e io me ne sono andato momentaneamente alla tavola, e poi me l'ha buttata, e io ci sono rimasto lì.
No, il bello è che io rido perché è registrata anche questa parte. Quindi...
I am deeply sorry, guys, but suddenly my connection went down, so I'm here back again. And I have to
Where were
ask,
you left off? Like where?
right from the very beginning.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So I kindly ask you to deliver your speech like again. Okay. Sorry. I'm sorry, guys. That's the point with online debating. Okay. You can go.
Okay. So, I'm Francesco Negris. Okay, you know the deal. And basically, I am deeply concerned with the interpretation of the topic from the contra team. So one of the main problems is that they have missed the principal stakeholders in the deal. They just interpreted regret as something that the community that did the act can do. But this is deeply wrong because all other people, other nations can regret Brexit. And in fact, they do. And it will be my job to demonstrate. So particularly, it's going to be my job to demonstrate that Brexit is bad for the UK, is bad for the EU, and it's bad for everyone. And so let's start with the UK itself. The main point here was economy and also security, but we'll get to that. So when it comes to economy, they've said that because they won't pay the EU fees anymore, now they will be less burdened and they will have less problems from the economic standpoint. But this is not true because, for example, when it comes to the fishing industry, there has been a lot of red tape, which is useless bureaucracy, that has been formed after Brexit. And one of the main problems that this created is the fact that instead of giving a sea of opportunity, like Boris Johnson said, when it comes to the economic standpoint, instead it provided a massive disruption in the sector that basically costed a lot of money for a lot of fisheries. So the other problem that we have to say here is that, okay, so apparently because they're not paying these fees, the economy is getting better. But are we sure? Maybe this money is just going to politicians because the UK citizens are directly impacted negatively by the Brexit. And one of the main problems is the fact that, for example, MasterCard and Visa tariffs have gone up because the EU had ceilings for these tariffs. And now, when a British citizen or an English citizen makes an order with a Visa or with a MasterCard, they will pay more than they would otherwise. Also, flights cost more now, and in general, it's not. Yes.
Where this data came from?
Yes, this data comes from the Europe.today.it. So, anyways, one of the main points is the fact that it's bad for the English population. And the other issue that we're not considering is the fact that basically, when it comes to the UK itself, it divided the UK. Are you aware of something called Northern Ireland Protocol, which basically states that it requires some checks and controls on certain goods entering Northern Ireland from the rest of the UK, if those goods are at risk of crossing the Irish border into the EU market? Checks might involve physical inspections on certain goods coming from England, Wales, or Scotland, and additional paperwork for business. So it's even more red tape, even more time that is lost, even more division within the country. So this was just within the country. Now, the other thing is that basically they talked about they didn't talk about other stakeholders at all. So Europe was not mentioned, and also the other parts of the Commonwealth and the English-I.S.S were not mentioned. For example, when it comes to Anguilla, which is part of the English overseas territory, they did not get a chance to vote in the British referendum. And also, they are suffering because they don't get the help anymore from the EU market. So basically, the English are also suffering. Now, one of the things that they could have said, if they had chosen to defend and also to think that Brexit was positive for other nations, was the fact that maybe places like Italy or places like Greece will benefit because of Brexit, because usually it always was against the recovery fund. It provided a veto. But we would have responded, even if they had said this, that it wouldn't have been enough of a good thing. Because, for example, Brexit had massive problems for the EU economy. For example, usually a study in the sorry. So a study from the economic policy of the European Committee of the Regions basically said that countries in Europe that exported to England had a massive loss after Brexit. Basically, we can see in the furniture and textile sector that Italy lost a lot of money, and then in the sector of appliances, so did Germany and other countries. So the economy of the EU was deeply impacted negatively by Brexit. So then we have the issue of security, which is a problem unto itself. It's a completely different part. And this also confirms one of our main points. So the speaker said, and basically I quote, that now because the UK gained more sovereignty, they will be able to choose who gets inside the border. And well, this is true. Isn't it a bit discriminating? So we cited the fact that basically it's linked to xenophobia and the fact that British have this type of nationalistic idea, which is an ideology, and that they want to control their whole country. But this is just discriminating. There are a lot of people that would come that are being restricted now. And also, are they aware of the other side of the coin in this equation, which is basically the fact that by choosing to do Brexit and by getting out of the EU, you automatically have the issue that citizens will have a much harder time traveling. So if you're a UK citizen that wants to visit the Colosseum in Rome, or if you want to visit the Eiffel Tower, well, good luck, because you'll have a much harder time. And if you do decide to go there, it will cost much more with an airplane ticket. So to recapitulate, the main issue with the Contra's argumentation is the fundamental interpretation of the topic. By choosing to only define why England has to regret Brexit, they basically excluded the whole world, and they decided to make the UK the center of the world. But this is deeply flawed. It's deeply wrong, because there are other parts in the world and not just the UK. And so this is just completely flawed. We have talked about how some overseas territories like Anguilla have suffered, which are part of the UK itself. We have talked about how Northern Ireland has suffered, and there is even more division after Brexit. We have talked about the fact that there is red tape and so more bureaucracy. We didn't even mention the fact that there could have been the possibility of the no-deal Brexit, which would have had massive disruption in the economy, and it wouldn't have been a positive thing. So we didn't even discuss it. We didn't even discuss that. So there are clearly many broken points in their discussion. It did not consider the whole picture. It was just a particular view, and it was slanted. It wasn't complete. It was just completely appalling, in my opinion. I state my case. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Francesco, for a brilliant speech. Now I ask Chiara to deliver her speech.
This is once in a lifetime opportunity to get back the independence and self-governance of this nation. Nigel Farage. Greetings to the audience and to the judge. My name is Chiara, and my will today is to persuade you about something that I really care about, Brexit. There will be no downside to Brexit, only a considerable upside, and I will put all my effort to prove this. In order to make this speech more clear, limpid, and understandable, I'm going to divide it into two parts. In the first one, I will show you how the author of our speech is so twisty, characterized by a sophisticated way to narrate things. We have heard good, precise, high-level words, but that's it. I decided to prove you, to convince you about our ideal world, about our impacting and valuable model. Our vision is not only optimistic, but also feasible, realistic, and rational. On the other hand, the perception that the other eyes model is entirely impracticable. I want to be sincere, and I beg you to not consider me rude, but your point of vision is workable only in a fairy tale. I consider, as a matter of fact, that our argumentation are robust and sturdy. In the second part, I intend to repeat and corroborate our brilliant line of argument with evidences, repeating with salient points that have characterized our speeches. Defending the position of remaining, are you feeling regret, remorse? You still feel ashamed or speechless? So you hope. It's true that many things could go wrong, and in financial markets they have already. Still, there are reasons to be cheerful, so here are mine. Remember the fundamental facts. Not catchy, but keep repeating you the mantra to yourself. The only way to have lots of jobs and higher wages is to have a competitive economy. This is the fundamental fact, and in the end, it is so much more important than being in any particular club. Having a huge single market to exploit is useless if no one wants your expensive stuff. Greece is a full-on-EU member and is fundamentally uncompetitive, hence its problems. South Korea could have been much farther away from the EU and is now a prosperous nation that exports its electronic goods and cars all over the world. So I don't really see your point when you say to me that we are excluding the world. I'm making some mistakes, and so listen and give attention to them. We can build a competitive economy outside the EU. How we do it is up to Britain, totally. Whether we do it is up to Britain, in fact. I refuse. As a free nation, we have the choice to say follow. Nationalizing stuff and strengthening the unions and welfare benefits. We can go for more or less free trade, more or less immigration, more or less infrastructure investment. The future is uncertain because it will be down to democratic choice. And I wanna do something. Refuse. You say that we are discriminating, that we are xenophobic. No, because you, in fact, made an evidence on the fact that the Scottish only wanted to leave, but they're still citizens. You confute our xenophobia, but you're the only one that actually is minimalizing Scottish people's importance. For us, geography areas in which UK people live doesn't matter. We believe in democracy, and the majority want a Brexit, so Brexit is. As Jeremy Corbyn says, we can ban 0 hours contracts even if we are outside the EU. There is nothing intrinsically socialist about the EU, as he said. We live in a stable, venerable democracy. Pompous stuff, yeah, but true and long-term strengths. Without being rude, I beg your pardon, not all of Europe has the same uninterrupted run of political stability that you venerate. Absurd and invincible as in so many ways, the monarchy, particularly the present incumbent, is a visible symbol of that. The political framework, yeah.
Okay, so you said you believe in democracy, but are you sure that the referendum was representative of the minorities, such as Scotland and Northern Ireland, that completely wanted to remain in the EU?
You, now, actually in this moment, are being a little xenophobic. I already said that I don't care about the geographic areas. I really care about democracy, and democracy is voted for 51%. So this is democracy, and the Brexit is a proof of that. I will continue with my speech. Public staff, but true and long-term strengths. So I was saying, without being rude, not all Europeans have the same interrupted around political stability. Absurd and indefensible as in so many ways, the monarchy, particularly this present incumbent, is a visible symbol of that. The EU's political framework leaves plenty to be desired, as even Stefan agree. UK as the pound. Yes, it looks sickly just now, but it has never suffered existential crisis the euro has. No, you refuse, and surely will again. Sterling has been depreciated and devalued by a recognition, but UK has never properly defaulted on its debt. The UK was outside the Eurozone, but with our financial, political, and economic structures so closely integrated, we were more exposed to the inherent flows. Eventually, the diplomatic pressure to join the euro will intensify again. We will be told we cannot be in the single market without being in a single currency. The euro's problems will not dissipate until Europe has a fiscal union. In other words, a European treasury and a proper European government. No sign of that. So, this proves my point. We can buy what we wish, where we wish. Once again, we can return to world markets to buy cheap food in particular, aside the common agricultural policy. We can take advantage of more efficient producers of cereals, butter, meat, and all the rest, and take advantage of the produce from across the planet. Much the same goes for everything else we import. That will mean our wages buy more and inflation will be lower. And with the cheaper grocery bills, would help poor people. That's a stakeholders that you didn't mention, so you can confuse us about stakeholders. So we can still have immigration. I heard this word about 100 times in this debate. So I'm gonna give you our point of view. Eastern European immigration raised British economic growth and made us all richer. The problem was political acceptability and the uncertainty about how large might become, maybe to the point where the economic costs exceed the benefits. It's also meant there might be less new immigration, given the governance aspiration. Trade deals with other countries may be easier for we. And about immigration, nurses from Zimbabwe, refugees from Syria, builders from Albania, students from China, we can add them all in a rational, planned way. So, without EU interference, we could, if we wanted, nationalize or otherwise support key industries such as steel. Again, such policies and priorities will be democratically seated through Parliament. I want to put the spot on the fact that we, as opposition house, have faith in one of the greater and the brightest country in the world. We have our own dream and our own task. We are with Europe, but not of it. We are linked, but not combined. We are interested and associated, but not absorbed. If Britain must choose between Europe and the open sea, she must always choose the open sea, as the Commons, May 11, 1943. Thank you for the attention.
Okay, thank you, Chiara. Now I would like to hear the reply speech from the opposition side. Is there anyone for the reply speech for the opposition side?
Mi sentite?
Francesco Placido, I mean, you're supposed to deliver. Yeah.
Mi sentite? Ok, ci sono. Posso?
Yes, you can.
Okay. I want to repeat the argumentative line of my squad that we have firmly sustained during the course of this debate. First, if the UK leaves the European Union, it will no longer be obliged to pay any membership fee. Second, selected immigration. With the help of the Brexit, UK can now choose how many people will come and especially what kinds of people. Third, sovereignty. The UK has always cared for its autonomy and sovereignty, which has been undermined by the membership with the European Union until the completion of Brexit. Now, I want to list the points of clash of this debate. As the first point, the concept, the notion of the sovereignty itself. The pro, defining definition of sovereignty, narrowed the field regarding border, control, and laws. But our House gave the exact definition of the sovereignty. In fact, real sovereignty is about protecting a country's interests, not simply its borders and laws, but also its economic interests that would be deeply improved if Brexit withdrew from the European Union, as it would not pay the membership fee, saving his money for something else, which could be very useful. So we won this point of clash, giving the right definition of the sovereignty, demonstrating that their model would bring economic issues. Moreover, we won this point as they didn't argue about concrete aspects, leaving their words unfulfilled and abstract. The sovereignty, in fact, is one of the sticking points of this debate, of the English Parliament conjecture, as definition could cause confusion. So their model missed the right definition, giving us wrong and abstract evidences. Then you have it. Brexit is a national tragedy built on a chimera, which is the sovereignty. UK is about to discover that it has traded the real power to shape its destiny for an illusion drenched in nostalgia. The second point was about immigrants and foreign people. Well, we even won this point, demonstrating how the pro model is extremely wrong, as it's based on a total closing of the borders, not giving the opportunity to everyone to come in. But winning this point, we demonstrated how it would be better not a total closing of the borders, but rather than a selected immigration, not based on xenophobia or discrimination, as Pro-House sustained during the course of this debate, but on laws issues. In fact, the illegal immigration is a serious problem. So reinforcing the border, it would be useful, but the border where the immigration is legal, it wouldn't be useful to close the borders. So the third point of clash, the stakeholders. Well, we won this point as the Pro-House said that we missed a lot of stakeholders, but instead of them, we mentioned the NATO, US, WTO, and the entire European Union, but accusing how they didn't mention any kind of stakeholders. Thanks, my speech has concluded.
Okay, thank you. Let's hear the reply speech from the proposition side.
Okay, thanks. So, first of all, I want to thank all the listeners, all the judges, and of course also the fellow team, the other team, for this debate. Secondly, it's time to be really concrete. Well, of course, this debate was full of points of clash. We have spoken, and they misunderstood. They have spoken, and we understood very well. 6 are the points of clash of this debate. The first, Brexit. They didn't give us a definition precisely. Of course, they said that Brexit was UK going out of Europe, but they, of course, didn't underline the precise political project behind it. Brexit was not only that. Secondly, the stakeholders. Well, we spoke a lot about all the possible stakeholders. We spoke about citizens, both European and English, about firms, both European and English, about government, both Europeans and English. Where were you when you said that we didn't spoke about stakeholders? Were you listening to this debate or to another? The third point is sovereignty. So we gave a definition of sovereignty, and they misunderstood that at all. They said that we were saying that sovereignty was gaining control of the borders, but this was the definition of Boris Johnson, who supported Brexit and who support, of course. So we were confutating that definition in order to support another. Then we have the economic aspect. They didn't say anything concrete. Of course, we have demonstrated, and this was also the fourth point. We've talked about red tape, Visa, MasterCard. We've talked about a lot of concrete things, a lot of proofs that demonstrates how Brexit is wrong, but not only for European citizens, but also for English ones. Then, of course, Brexit is not the only thing in which they lack a definition. They hid their definitions under a cypress. And this, well, of course, it's a really bad thing, because if you didn't define the terms in a debate, or if you define that in a bad way, well, of course, you're not doing debate. One of the speakers of the other team said that we are in a fairy tale. Are we in a fairy tale? Yes. You are the Sleeping Beauty, and we are the charming prince that wants to wake you from the incredible nightmare where you are. Brexit is not a good thing. Absolutely not. For all the reasons that we've mentioned, we firmly believe and we have firmly demonstrated how Brexit is the most horrible thing that could happen in this 2021. And I want to end as I begin, because we opened the curtain. Now it's time that the curtain goes down. So I have started with Noam Chomsky, and I want to end with Noam Chomsky. Separating themselves from the European Union and the Brussels bureaucracy is not any kind of panacea for their problems. In fact, it could be very well make them worse. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Giovanni, for your final speech. Now I would like to welcome everybody to give a warm round of applause for your work. Congratulations, you did a good